Because at the end of the day, if you don't grow, that means that is an uncomfortable comfort. No, nobody will deny you want to keep up the same behavior. But if you're in an environment that doesn't force you to change, then you remain. There's one thing that I've read in the book Atomic Habits. There is people that set goals. The goal, exactly like you said, we only set new comfort zone. So it's actually not at a behavioral level. It's deeper. It's your subconscious. Now, to dictate something to your subconscious, instead that you can take is changing your environment, but you cannot necessarily do that right away. So you can start by yourself, working on yourself by consistent. Don't start reading. I won't even advise 2 pages. Start reading for 1 minute.
I've noticed that quite a lot of people, when taking actions, they focus on the behaviors, or when they want to make a goal or have a goal or achieve a specific target, they focus on their behavior. But when you look at it from a deeper level, identity comes into play. Now, the question here is, which of these two takes more priority? But before we go into that, Ayedjo, I would like to hear from you. What is identity and what is behavior?
All right. Thank you, Mohammed, for this amazing topic that we are going to talk about today. Identity, in simple terms, is who you are or who you believe you are. Behavior is the action that you take on a daily basis without even thinking about it. Because at some point of time, a behavior becomes unconscious. So that's the behavior. To make it very simple, that's it.
You said identity is who you are. Are we born with our identity, or is it something that we mold through our experience? So how do we come about having that particular identity?
That's a very, very, very good question, Mohammed, that you just put out. I'll say no completely. Because when we are born, our identity is molded by our environment. Now, when we get into a conscious mode, we can decide to mold a particular identity to ourselves. We are not actually born. Our identity is molded by our environment, and then we can also decide that I want to take another identity in terms of what I do on a regular basis.
Still on that, I do find it quite fascinating that you said that our identity is not something that we are born with. It's not something we are born with. It's something that is molded by environment, the experiences that we have. But a lot of us have created this identity for ourselves, and we tend to think that, okay, you said that I should be able to change. Whenever I'm growing up, I can decide that I want to change my identity. Isn't that going to feel like me being inauthentic with who I actually am? I hear quite a number of people say that means I'm being inauthentic to myself. So what do you have to say to that?
All right. I'll quote something that I've heard a bit before listening to podcast, that from 0 to 7, children copy exactly what they see other people doing. We should not fool ourselves that, okay, this is me. No, if you find yourself to do something regularly, when you think about it deeply, you are going to understand that you have got that identity, or you have got that state of yours by someone that you look up to, majorly our parents or somebody that we usually admire. So it's not about you being inauthentic. It's about you deciding what is okay for your life and what is not okay, because our parents are great, but the identity that they have is not necessarily something that will propel us forward. So it's very important to ask ourselves the right questions at the right time. So it's not about you being inauthentic.
So, me trying to change the identity that I've crafted for myself, that my environment, my experience has crafted for myself, is not me being inauthentic. But at the same time, it is not easy for me to be able to change it. Why not just stick to it? Why not just stick to the identity that I already have? Since it's something that I've spent years trying to build. Because changing it is quite difficult.
I believe the question of identity or even behavior comes into place when you find yourself to be somewhere that you don't want to be anymore. If you are comfortable where you are not going to ask yourself about, okay, what is the identity or what is the behavior that I want to. If the questions of identity or behavior comes, that means in a way you are uncomfortable with where you are. Because at the end of the day, I will always put it back to people. Think about where you are right now. If you are comfortable, okay, that's good. But if you are not comfortable, that's where the topic of identity or of behavior comes into place. Because if you are not comfortable, you need to step out of your comfort zone, acquire a new identity, and that can propel you wherever you want to go.
Okay, I get that. My identity, I need to look at where I am, the stage that I am in. If I'm comfortable with that particular stage that I'm in, it's fine. I don't have to change my identity. If I'm not comfortable, I can change it. But how do we differentiate between a comfort that you've convinced yourself that you're okay with, and the comfort that you're actually genuinely okay with? Because we hear this term of comfort zone, being in your comfort zone, and being in our comfort zone, it's very comfortable. I would like to stay here for the rest of my life because everything outside is difficult. Now, there might be people listening that will be like, I'm comfortable. But how do they differentiate between, is that your comfort zone or is that an actual genuine comfort?
Okay. That's a very, very, very interesting one. It depends on the growth. Where you are right now, are you growing? That's the question that they need to ask themselves. Where you are right now, are you growing? Because at the end of the day, if you don't grow, that means that is an uncomfortable comfort. Nobody will deny that when there is growth, there is automatic fulfillment. Almost 80% of the world population will tell you that once they find themselves to have accomplished something, they feel a bit of fulfillment. So the actual question that will help make that differentiation is, where I am right now, am I growing? If you are growing, that's okay. If you are not growing, consider that to be an uncomfortable comfort.
For me to be able to differentiate between my genuine comfort or something that I have accepted with an uncomfortable comfort, that's me being in my comfort zones, I have to look at, am I growing? Am I moving step by step to the destination that I want to eventually see myself? And that's a very good concept. And the reason why this particular aspect resonates with me, or it's something that I think a lot about, is we misunderstand the difference between comfort and an okay comfort. Our comfort zone and then our comfort. Because as human beings generally, we run away from difficulties. And it becomes easier for us to assume that we running away from difficulties is me being comfortable. But in the end of the day, within ourselves, we find ourselves uncomfortable. Just like you said, it is an uncomfortable comfort. Now, here's the thing. Our behavior, is it enough for us to be able to get to that destination? Just like you said, we have to look at comfort or uncomfortable comfort. Can I just remain in my comfort zone and change my behaviors? Like, if I just work on my behaviors, is that enough? Is that enough?
Right? All right. So, you agree with me that we do have some of our behavior that we usually call bad behavior. If I believe that most of us have that, there's some behaviors that we call bad behavior, and that we are trying to change since the beginning of the world. So it's a way of saying it.
True. True.
The first thing is not working on the behavior. The first thing is the identity. Because like I said in the beginning when I was talking, the behavior gets to a point it becomes unconscious. That's why you want to change it, but you end doing what you don't want to do. It's actually not at a behavioral level. It's deeper. It's your subconscious. Now, to dictate something to your subconscious need to work with your identity. That's why we get into that space of I'm okay where I am. If it's a fake okay, I'm okay where I am. Why? Because we get to a point where our subconscious identity aligns with that where we are. I'm someone that is inconsistent. I'm someone that is not disciplined. Why? Because our subconscious, that's how our subconscious is working with an identity of an undisciplined and inconsistent person. We don't start by changing the behavior. We start by working on our subconscious by defining the real identity that we want to have. That's where it starts. That's where the journey starts.
You touched upon a very important concept, which is we have to focus on the identity. The identity is where we start, not the behavior. For a lot of us, we fall into the category of just looking at the behavior and working only on the behavior. Why do you think people focus on the behavior more than they focus on the identity?
That's a good question. And it falls back to our environment, how we have been brought up. At home, kind of always focus on the matrix. For example, when parents have a child that is not doing good at school, the child is not just doing good at school. What they usually tell him, you are not good, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this. Even at work, on our workplaces, you are not performant, you are this, you are that, you are this, you are that. Always trying to work on the actual behavior, not focusing on the identity. So that's how we have been brought up. So we just follow our environment. That's the actual reason.
And it goes back to what we mentioned earlier, where you talked about our identity is not something that we are born with. It's something that is shaped through our environment, the experiences we have. And you've talked about some of the experiences that we have in work, school, parents, and so forth. And particularly here in this part of the world, you tend to find your parents saying, can't you see so and so? Can't you be like so and so? And then, yes, that actually shapes how we look at our identity, how we look at our behaviors, and so forth. But do you think it is possible for someone to outgrow their environment, but still they are operating with their previous identity? So let's say you've changed your environment, but still you're still using the previous identity that the previous environment has crafted you.
That's a good one. I believe that it all depends on your environment. So if the new environment where you are doesn't force you to change, you keep on with the same identity. But 100%, human beings, we are social creators. If you get, I'm 100% sure that if we get into a place where people will work with the heads, at a point of time, you are going to feel silly not working with your heads, just to joke a little bit. But for example, even at school, when you are in a top performance class, even if you are the last one, you perform best, but you are the last. But you still perform more than some other people who are in the average people class. When you find yourself to be in an environment where people are doing something over and over and over again, you are going to get into that behavior. Our environment is actually dictate our subconscious because we are social creators. On the top, there is environment. After, there is identity, and then there is behavior. That's the way I see it. If you are in an environment that forces you to change, you won't keep up the same behavior. But if you are in an environment that doesn't force you to change, then you remain with the same identity, the same behavior.
So our environment actually helps us to change our identity. So one of the ways we can change our identity is for us to change our environment. Okay. You also talked about the fact that when your environment doesn't push you to change, doesn't push you to grow, you are not going to move away from that identity. Now, for someone who is in that environment, that maybe they are listening to this podcast or they are listening to quite a number of other podcasts that have spoken about the importance of identity, but they are still in the previous environment. How do you think it is going to show up to them that, okay, look, your environment is limiting?
Okay, all right. Let's take an example, okay? A perfect example. You are a 25 years old man, and where you are, people around you, even your parents, because sometimes our parents do love us, but their words are not good for us because of the environment where they were themselves. So you are trying to do something that is different from what people know. But always, once you get back into that environment, you are feeling down. Is it okay to do this? Do I need to do? Because that's the only thing that they are repeating to you. For example, if you want to venture in entrepreneurship and your parents really know, so they are afraid for you. But the thing is, they actually do love you, but the fact that they don't know about it, they are going to discourage you each and every time. Every time that you feel like you ask where you want to go, your environment is dragging you back. That means that the environment where you are is not the good environment for you. Either you change the environment, or with everything that we have online, you can also build up your environment. Once you get the awareness that, okay, where I want to go, something where I am is dragging me back, that means the environment is not aligned with where you want to go.
I want us to look deeper into the part where you talked about, with what we have today, with the technology that we have today, you can craft your own environment. And there might be people who are out there and be like, look, I get that I have to change my environment, but I can't just up and leave my parents' house. I can't leave the community that I was born and brought up. It doesn't work that way. Please talk us through the ways for us to be able to leverage on what we have today, to be able to change our environment or improve our environment.
Let's again take that typical example of that 25 years old man that want to venture into entrepreneurship. Today, when you hear motivational speakers, when they usually talk about mentoring. And we are in an era nowadays where for someone to be your mentor, you don't need to be close to that person. That person even doesn't need to be alive anymore. Books, reading, because you need to spend the less time. Yes, it's important to spend time with family and everything, but you need to spend the less time possible with them. It's okay because you are building your own life, you are building your own legacy. So it's okay to spend just a little bit of time, at least the time that you spend together. You must not have that negative thought about what you are doing. Now, you need to go into books. You need to read. You need to listen to people, podcasts, people who know more about where you want to be. Follow them. Choose 2 or 3 people, not too much, okay? Because too much is also not that good. You end up being in motion instead of being improving and growing. So we can literally listen to a person every single day because they have books out there, they have video materials out there that can really craft your life. So being in a wrong environment, we can put ourselves together and surround ourselves with those people, their books, their podcasts, their learnings on a daily basis. And then we are crafting that environment for ourselves. And thank God we are in such an era today.
You talked about you can have a mentor without your mentor actually knowing that you exist or even being alive. Like you talked about through the concept of having books. And I remember when I started my journey to improving my communication skills, I would always listen to Vinjeng. He's someone that I very much respect when it comes to communication. And this is someone that doesn't know that I exist. Like literally doesn't know that I exist. Amount of impact that he has had in my communication skills has been off the roof. I call him my mentor. And you talked about your mentor doesn't have to be physically there with you. And you also talked about reducing the time that you spend with negative people. A lot of people might think that, oh, why are you telling us to stop spending time with our loved ones? But the thing is, one of my mentors would always say that when it comes to spending time with people, it's not just about quantity of time, it's also quality of time. So you could spend 3 hours with someone and that 3 hours is completely useless. But you could spend 30 minutes with someone and that 30 minutes could be the best and long lasting. It's not even to your own experience. To their own experience, they might even remember that 30 minutes much more than the 3 hours. And again, you talked about the concept of wanting to grow. And I strongly believe that when you improve yourself, you also tend to improve the quality of time that you give to the people that you love.
Exactly.
Now, identity. We've talked about identity, we've talked about behavior. But do I need to know what my identity actually is for me to be able to change it? Or can I just all of a sudden look for an identity that I want and then practice it?
It is like, let's say you want to go to Paris, right? But it's like, okay, I don't know where I am. I don't know in which city. I don't know in which country I am. How can I go to Paris? That question that you ask is very important. The first thing is awareness. To give my example, I would say I wasn't that kind of organized person. That really worked on it when I started my journey in entrepreneurship. Now, I didn't necessarily knew that I have organization and focus issues. I didn't necessarily knew that. I was growing because if we take again the regular way of thinking at school and everything, I was the A type of student. I always make my way to there. It wasn't like that in the beginning, but easily I was able to make my way to there. Thinking about that way, and I was good. Everybody, my friends and all, will tell you that okay, I'm one of the best in the class. But still, when I got myself into entrepreneurship, I really noticed like I was finding it very difficult to do certain things to grow. So it was in the regular way of thinking, like doing a job and everything. Yeah, I could perform at a certain point. But to be able to grow to a certain level in entrepreneurship, you need a lot of work on yourself. I was seeing myself not being able to do a lot of things. And I have to ask myself at a point of time, why? And that's why when you don't deep into it, it needs to conduct you to what is my current identity? Where I am? Where am I right now? Because trying to be an entrepreneur, I was trying to go out to be there, to start performing, to start building whatever I'm building and everything. But then my current identity was holding me back because I didn't took the time to be aware of it. And when I now realize that okay, I cannot go there. It's not like okay, I can start working through there when I have changed. No, I actually went to the realization that let me start being aware of where I am, how deep that chain is on me, or how deep am I chained to my current location. And now where I was able to identify it. Now I could implement the right first mindset to work on my subconscious, and then the right actions to be able to unchain myself and then start moving forward.
Very interesting because it's like you're tied to an invisible chain that you don't know that is there, and you're trying to run. You're trying to run with full speed. It's going to be difficult for you to actually have acceleration because you are not aware of the chains that is holding you back. So just taking a step back to be able to make a self-assessment, to be able to review yourself. And in entrepreneurship, anyone who has succeeded in entrepreneurship knows that the journey of constantly evaluating yourself, seeing where you are, looking at your mindset, improving yourself, is something that is a constant process. Something that is a constant process because we never exit our comfort zone and don't go back into it because we just create better comfort zones. We create
Exactly.
more comfort zones. And so for us to escape the more comfort zones, we need to grow. But we cannot grow if we don't know where we are. Right? So I completely resonate with that. Now, what is the entry point? I have identified that I need to focus on my identity before my behaviors, and then my behaviors would follow. What is the entry point for someone who is trying to shift to focusing on their identity?
The entry point for me is actually depends on each and every one, but I believe this actually can work for almost everyone. Affirmation. No matter what you tell yourself every single day, even if it is a lie, it end up being your truth or your reality. It starts with affirmation. The entry point for me is affirmation. I've heard you say once when you were taking us through something, and you explain how something as little as you are too small really help you start outgrowing where you were at that moment. Affirmation is so powerful because affirmation actually, like I was saying in the beginning, talk to your subconscious. That's where the actual change starts because you are telling yourself who you are. Everything's with the subconscious work with repetition. Repetition is in talking, repetition in action. That's why you are going to see some parents kill their children by repeating some things to them. You are too lazy. You are too lazy. The guy, every day that he wakes up, listen to you are too lazy. So if he doesn't have that awareness that I need to tell myself that I am not lazy, he's going to end up being lazy, even not knowing why. So the first thing is affirmation. We need to affirm. The entry point is working on subconscious, and one way of working on a subconscious is affirmation, because you cannot, like we said in the beginning, you cannot necessarily leave your current environment. Instead, that you can take is changing your environment, but you cannot necessarily do that right away. So you can start by yourself, working on yourself by affirming some things to yourself. So that can be the entry.
Very interesting, because when you look at successful people like I would always give the example of Cristiano Ronaldo. He has considered himself to be the GOAT, to be the best. Even when he was still in Manchester United, when he was 18, 19, 20, he considered himself to be the best. And at that time, we still had the likes of what people would call the real Ronaldo, not Cristiano Ronaldo, Ronaldinho. We still had the likes of Kaká. We still had the likes of a lot of amazing players. But Cristiano always said he's the best. I remember there was an interview that at that time he was very young. I think it was about 18, 19. He was very young, and they asked him who is the best player in the world. And he said, it's myself, Cristiano Ronaldo. And at the time, he hasn't won a Ballon d'Or. At the time, he hasn't won a Ballon d'Or. I believe that one of the reasons why we see who Cristiano is today is because he constantly reminds or affirms to himself that he's the best, he's the best, he's the best. And then his subconscious has taken it as he's the best. And that's why you see him perform. But imagine if he never saw himself as the best, we are most likely going to be seeing a totally different Cristiano today as we are speaking. But he was able to do the affirmation. And affirmation really works. It's something that I've used in multiple occasions. It helps you to zap you out of the emotions of where you are. It's not just even in terms of identity. If you are in a very difficult position, let's say some tragedy happens to you, you can just keep saying to yourself, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. And before you know it, you start to come out of that particular point. So affirmation 100% resonate with affirmation. Looking at it, we all know that there's a difference between transformation and sustainability of the transformation. The first comes realization, then the next comes transformation, and then the next comes sustaining the transformation. Now, there are two things. How do we sustain identity? How do we sustain our identity?
All right. We sort of put down a bit behavior in the beginning, but here's when he comes. The subconscious, for what I was able to learn throughout all the learning and everything during these years, the subconscious is funny. The state where you are for him is a safe place. So how can you make him understand that it's safe to move forward? It's safe to move a step forward is by starting implementing actions. Now, I insist on small, steady action. Because you cannot be somebody that doesn't hold a book entirely when you were born until where you are right now. You've never hold a book to read, and you start saying, okay, yes, I'm a reader, and takes a book and try to read 10 pages a day. You are going to exhaust your willpower, because willpower works against our subconscious. Now, to work with our subconscious, we need to make those action. Let's say when you want to give a kid a medicine and the medicine is a bit bitter, you put a little bit of sugar on it and you make it bearable for him. So it's the same way we need to function with our subconscious, by giving very little action. Let's take the example again of reading a book you've never read before. You are now on a journey where you understood that, okay, I need to read consistently. Don't start reading. I won't even advise 2 pages. Start reading for 1 minute, because it needs to feel for your subconscious, and it needs to not to hurt your subconscious. It needs to feel like, okay, just a little bit of, okay, it's okay. I can still go with, yes, I'm not a reader, but yeah, I can still go with the flow. Because even when you start with affirmation is something that is momentary. You need to back it with slight action to make it sustainable, like exactly like you said. First transformation and then sustainability. Affirmation helps you start the transformation, but then action, behavior, start building that sustainability. So starting with that small action, at a point of time, you find yourself reading every single day, even if it's 1 minute. Now, let's take somebody that reads one book, finish one book with willpower, finish one book in 1 week, and never read again for 3 months. And another person that's haven't even finished that book, but every single day the person was reading for 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. Who between the two of them is going to consider himself to be a reader? The second person, obviously. It's very important to start with very small steady actions. Very small steady actions for me is the way, like, behavior is how you sustain an identity, but starting small is very important. Starting small is crucial.
So the first thing we need to do is for us to be able to sustain the identity. Now we've made that realization that, okay, I need to focus on my identity because that's what drives my behavior. Otherwise, I keep getting pulled back to my previous identity. So now that we've had that realization that this is the identity that I'm in, this is what I need to change. In order for us to now sustain the identity, is that we need to look at behaviors that reinforces that identity for us, and then we take small actions. So we are trying to hack our subconscious as opposed to overwhelming it. That's quite interesting. That is quite interesting, because a lot of us, when you look at the whole New Year's resolution, a lot of people craft some giant, massive New Year resolution, and then after like 1-2 months, they've reverted back to default settings. But you touched upon something very important, which is, instead of us looking at the whole giant, massive leap that we want to make, we should just look at the small steps that we need to take. And this reminds me of a video by Vinjeng where he was talking about making change. He said, he gave an illustration. He said, if I was to tell all of you guys that are here listening to me that change 32 things from the way you're dressing, of course you'll find it very overwhelming. But what if I told you to change one and then let me know once you've changed it? And then after you've changed it, I say change another one and let me know. Whether you like it or not, after I ask you to do that 32 times, you would have found something to change. Despite the fact that at the beginning, when I told you to change 32 at the same time, you felt overwhelmed. But when I told you change just one and get back to me, at the end, you eventually changed 32 things. So I completely resonate with what you just said when it comes to the identity. We talked about you never end your comfort zone. You never completely destroy your comfort zone. You just build another comfort zone. How do we ensure that we don't get too overwhelmed by expanding our comfort zone, and also at the same time not remaining in our new built comfort zone? So how do we balance between the two?
That's very Very, 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 very interesting question that you just put out. There's one thing that I've read in the book Atomic Habits. There is people that set goals. The goal, exactly like you said, we only set new comfort zones. The new goal that you are setting is the new comfort zone from you want to move from your current comfort zone to another comfort zone. That's the goal that you set. And then another one, and then another one, and then another one. What the what he was saying in the book is actually that everybody has a goal. Everybody has a goal. Exactly like you said, those who set New Year's resolution, they have goals. So the people that succeed, they have goals. The people that actually fail, they also have goals. But the difference between both of them is that people that succeed, they focus on first the identity, like we said, and then the behavior. The change actually needs to become part of you. To be able not to overwhelm yourself, you need to make change a part of your life. Let's say I set a goal of start earning $1,000 per month. Now, in the beginning, yes, it's important to have that goals as milestone, but it's not about I came to that point and then I have to rest a little bit and then I have to find another one. If you are going that way, you can easily get overwhelmed. But if in the journey you get to the point where the target is not your goal anymore, the journey is your goal. The journey needs to be your destination. Because like you said, you are never going to get there. Until your last breath, there will be something that you need to change in your life. So it's better we recognize right now that being on a journey is actually our destination. Better we recognize it now, because when you first make your subconscious, we come to subconscious once again. Once you make your subconscious accept that it's actually not about the destination, but it's about the journey, then you won't get overwhelmed. I was reading a book recently, The Richest Man of Babylon, and there was two slaves talking. They were slaves. One slave was saying that hard work is his friend, and another person is saying, how should you exhaust yourself to work hard? When you first get like even the thought of so much of work, you are literally down already. That's when overwhelming is actually a state of mind. Not you tell yourself that okay, by doing this and doing that again and again and again and again, I'm going to get overwhelmed. But for somebody which define hard works as his friend, so it's important to take some rest. But for somebody that define hard works as his friend, is not going to get exhausted as fast as somebody that says working hard is too much. So it's about defining the journey as the destination and constantly being on the journey, first in your mind, and then you are going to get to a point where you constantly change. Change becomes actually your identity. Yeah. So that's how I can put it.
Very interesting perspective, because again, a lot of us might see that why I have to continuously expand my comfort zone, that is going to be too overwhelming for me to handle. And you talked upon a very important concept, which is as you go along the journey, shift from having a target to the journey being the target for you. So you enjoy the journey, it doesn't become overwhelming, and at the same time you are still growing. We've talked about quite a lot of things. We've talked about identity, we've talked about behavior, we've talked about how those two things come together. But for anyone who is listening, if they were to take one piece of information from our conversation today, what would it be, Ayedjo?
That piece of information will be actually a summary. First, start with, like you said, identifying where you are right now. That's the number one. Okay, identifying where you are. Where am I? Like, what is my current identity? Now, where do I want to go? Then start affirming to yourself as if your destination was already your reality. Number one, start taking small piece of action that will back up your new destination. And to finish with, repeats over and over and over again.
Thank you very much, Ayedjo, for your valuable time and sharing with us this amazing information, because this life is one where we have to always grow. We have to always improve ourselves, because I will always hear my mentors would say, everything you want, but you don't have is outside of your comfort zone. For you to get it, you have to grow, you have to improve. And thank you very much for shedding light on this topic. And that would be all for today's episode of Talk with Partners, and we'll see you in the next one.